Well, let's discuss this issue further. Ode Friday, the country director at Accountability Lab Nigeria, joins me on the news. Thank you for your time. Now, the delegates list to the COP28 summit has again raised the issue of accountability on the part of the federal government. Now, should Nigerians be worried or not?
Thank you very much. I think thanks for raising this issue. I think Nigeria should be largely worried on this issue. It's very essential to recognize at this moment where we are in Nigeria that effective budgeting and accountability are the very heart and the core of responsible governance. While Nigerians' participation at COP28 is very important, undoubtedly, it is very also equal and crucial to understand that we need to ensure that every penny spent aligns with the interest and the well-being of citizens, not for individual or personal gains, or even government officials who find this as an opportunity to either travel for these international trips or for personal gains, basically. But there's already a concern that the national budget, the implementation of the national budget and its effectiveness, including government accountability, has become the forefront of discussions here and there. We must also learn to enhance transparency at all costs, making information. So part of the conversation that is going out there is the lack of information which has not been put out there by the government. We need to make government information accessible at all times for the public to scrutinize and give feedback at every time. But sadly, when citizens demand for accountability in this case, what we see is the government defending its decision on the number of people that possibly attending COP28, which is the case at the moment, rather than taking the lead on spending wisely for the limited resources we have. You can note this that it's not just head of MDAs that are in the travel list, but you have other people who might basically not be even achieving anything at the summit. But these funds allocated for travel, especially in the context of COP28, transparency is key. There should be detailed breakdowns of travel expenses, ensuring that every expenditure is justified and contributes to meaningful participation and the representation of Nigeria in this context. Establishing clear benchmarks. We've seen what one of the president's special advisor on policy talks about developing KPIs. When they get back to Nigeria, are we going to see the clear benchmark for assessing this impact of these trips back at home and how it facilitates national interests, environmental goals, and sustainable development? There should be a public report from, I'm personally calling for a public report from all MDAs, all government officials who have the chance to attend this summit at this point in time. In summary, for me, I think the government should ensure that their participation serves the people genuinely. The citizens are the priority here, with clear accountability mechanism and also prudence, as you mentioned, in expending public funds.
All right, now shortly there is the issue of the lack of trust between the people and the government. How can this trust deficit be tackled?
For me, I think it's about leading people with integrity and responsible leaders who are leading these conversations. If you check what has happened, is because one of the things I mentioned is the lack of information, which we have seen out there, not even in the public domain, for people to demand accountability. So how do you want to build trust in such conversations when the information are not there? Secondly, you have people who are not accountable in the context of serving the people. In the Well, what we have had in the recent times is the difference that cuts between service delivery and the government officials serving the people rather than serving their own interest. From the budget implementation processes, we have seen that according to MDAs, there's limited or even less than 10% at most times, or less than 20% at most times, that budgets are being designed to address the concerns of citizens. But you find out that most of the budget goes for servicing public offices, most of the budget goes for servicing travel costs, most of the budget goes for training. And how does this generally affect the people? But in all of this, you have to ensure that while you are serving the people as a democratic nation, it's government for the people, of the people, and by the people. We need to see that the government are actually leading this conversation so the trust can be built accordingly when we have these conversations.
All right, now Ode Friday, the country director at Accountability Lab Nigeria, many thanks for speaking to us.